ASMR Magical Tools. Hello, Aquarius. Hello, hello, hello. I have to warn you that strange things are going on in my upstairs neighbor's apartment, so if you hear any banging sounds, don't be alarmed. Aquarius, this is going to be your year-ahead forecast for 2022. I am going to be using the Moon Power Tarot for this reading. I also wanted to say here on the front end that I offer custom videos through my website. There are also tarot readings and crystal scryings and geomancy and things like that at a few different price points on my website, so I encourage you to check out those things if you're interested. I also have a Lenormand deck, which I've used in a few videos, for sale at that web address as well. First, we are going to be doing the month-by-month tarot reading. So this is going to go January through December of 2022. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention, there are a couple things that I wanted to say before I get started with the reading. One of which is that the month-by-month part of the reading can be a little bit more inclined to show the flaws of 2022, but I feel like it's important because you want to know what's coming, right? You want to know what lies ahead for you. So that's why I feel like it's important. However, this part of the reading might be a little bit discouraging if you don't take it in the totality of context with the entire forecast. So just keep that in mind. If it's not supportive of your mental health journey, then I trust you to do what's right for yourself. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say about the month-by-month forecast is that sometimes, Aquarius, I will lay these things out month by month, but actually, you might have a speed run where all the events that are laid out from May to September happen within like the course of a week. And aren't necessarily tied to the month, and sometimes they line up exactly. So just keep that in mind, that when you're dealing with the tarot, it's more important to look at everything in terms of context and not as important to try to pin down exact dates. Pinning down exact dates is setting yourself up for disappointment, because even if something arrives on the exact date, it might not look how you expect it to look, and therefore you won't recognize it. Okay, with that out of the way, let's begin the reading. Let's look at the month of January for you. Oh, we've got the Fool. So the Fool is a very good energy for beginnings. It is the beginning of the journey through the major arcana of the tarot. The Fool is a card of going going into things without a lot of preconceived notions also. So this is encouraging you to go into the year ahead of 2022 without bringing in the baggage of 2020 and 2021. We have the Knight of Cups in reverse, though. This is somebody who is overly controlled by their emotions. Somebody who is allowing their emotions to kind of run their life to their own detriment. And we also have the Nine of Wands in the reverse. And because we have the Nine of Wands reversed coming out with the Knight of Cups reversed and the Fool in the upright, that kind of says to me that you're not properly protecting yourself. Whether this means not keeping up with your wards and keeping yourself properly warded in a magical sense, or if this means leaving yourself vulnerable to people who might be trying to take advantage of you. There's an overly trusting energy for you, Aquarius, in the month of January. So be very careful about that. But as far as like a time for beginnings, I would say it's very good for that. I also wanted to address a pet peeve of mine, wherein people have been saying that the Fool card has Aries energy. That is not a correspondence that I use in my readings. To me, the Fool card has elemental air energy and is aligned with the planet of Uranus, which also has alignment to your sign, Aquarius. So I would take this as more of an Aquarian card than I would a Aries card. And I really just wanted to put that out there because I've seen a lot of readings lately where people are calling it an Aries card, and I understand where they're coming from. And if that is the way that they read cards, then that's fine. I understand why they would say that. It is the first card in the tarot, and Aries is the first sign in the wheel of astrology. But that is not how I read the cards. Let's look at February. So, some of you Aquarians are going to be having your birthday at the end of January, and some of you will be having your birthday in the month of February. And I have this Nine of Pentacles reversed coming out. So, the Nine of Pentacles being in the reverse is still a very good energy. It's an energy of financial success and an energy of some stability, but I think because it's showing up reversed here, there could be things about this financial situation which might be slightly unsustainable, and so you might be like looking for a job, or you might be looking for other streams of income in the month of February. We have the Two of Cups coming out, which is a good energy for Valentine's Day, of course. Two of Cups can be a romantic partnership, but the Two of Cups can also speak to taking two disparate parts of the self and bringing them together in alchemical marriage. So this can also be a type of metaphysical alchemy taking place within the self. We also have the Page of Wands in the reverse. Somebody might be too young for you in a relationship, like they might be very passionate towards you and coming in hot and heavy, but you might feel like they're too young for you. Or too immature. That's also a possibility. But this would not be somebody that you would be guarded against. remember we have this Nine of Wands in the reverse. So we'll see how some of these things play out as I bring out more cards. And then, of course, I'm going to get out the crystal and use the crystal for clarification of all of the months. So for the month of March, we have the King of Swords in the reverse. This could be you coming out in the reading, Aquarius, as King of Swords is air sign energy. You could be having to set some firm boundaries with people and cut things out of your life, and that can be kind of harsh, and it can be kind of difficult to deal with. The King of Swords in the reverse is also kind of like a minor arcana version of the Justice card. So there, like in the major arcana, we have these main archetypes and tropes, and then we see them mirrored throughout the minor arcana. So one of the cards that mirrors the Justice card in the minor arcana is the King of Swords. And when he's showing up reversed like this can be a situation where there is an inequality, there's an imbalance. There could be an injustice as well. If this is you coming out in the reading, there could be a disparity between you and this potential partner from February. We have the Seven of Pentacles coming out in the reverse. Now, anytime the Seven of Pentacles comes out reversed in a reading, I call it the quit your job card. That the amount of work that you're putting into something is disparate to the reward you are receiving, and it is balanced against you. So that could be something speaking to this King of Swords in the reverse as well. You could have a boss, or you could be working for somebody who owns their own company, and they could be not compensating you fairly. And finally, we have the Queen of Swords in the reverse. So, having the King and Queen of Swords both reversed in the month of March, and especially with this Seven of Pentacles reversed, these two, the King of Swords, as I mentioned, could be a mirror for the Justice card in the minor arcana, and the Queen of Swords reversed is somebody who's very ruthless, somebody who will promote their own self-interests, whatever the cost, to others. Which means that this would be a situation you can't win. It doesn't necessarily need to be a romantic situation. This is more likely to be in the workplace or in a situation where there is more at stake financially. Because we do have this Pentacles card coming out. The swords, which are aligned with air, can be a very cold and calculating suit when it comes to professional matters. So be very careful in the month of March. This would be a situation I would recommend ending. And it might be something that you don't recognize, because that Queen of Swords is going to do everything, as I said, to manipulate in her own self-interest. So the King and Queen of Swords are both showing up here, but they don't necessarily have to be two separate people. It could be like a husband and wife who own their own business and you work for them. It could also just be that you have somebody that you're dealing with who is very mercenary, and that they're kind of like attacking you from two different angles. That's possible too. Alright. And this wouldn't be like attack. It would be more manipulation type attack. Just to clarify that. Let's look at April. So for the month of April, we have the Page of Pentacles coming out. This could be an offer of a new job. So that would take you out of this situation here in March. That's very good. We have the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Wands is showing up upright here and can also be allied to your oppositional sign of Leo. So the Queen of Wands is somebody who's very charismatic, somebody who lights up the room at parties when they walk in, and somebody who's very easy to talk to. So this Queen of Wands could be providing a foil for the Queen of Swords here, and this could be the person who is offering you this new opportunity in the month of April. And finally, we have the Three of Cups. So this could be somebody that you know through a close friend group. This could also be somebody who they might run a business that has to do with socializing. Like they could be a bar owner. They could be somebody who runs events and parties. It could be a business that is built around socializing in some way. So that coming in the month of April. Now let's look at May. The month of May. Card we have coming out is the Wheel of Fortune, and it is showing up reversed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that fortune will be turning against your favor in May. We're going to need to look at some more cards. What the Wheel of Fortune does mean is change, revolution, and that what goes around comes around. It's a reminder that the energies that you put out into the universe always have the potential to return to you. And so to be very mindful of how you are putting energies out there. We have the Ace of Wands, which is a very favorable card for new beginnings. This is about energy. It can also refer to masculine fertility. It is an active energy. The active suits of the tarot are the wands and the swords. So we've already had quite a few wands and swords come out in this reading so far. And finally, for May, we have the Ten of Wands. So, to me, what it looks like is that we have this cycle of burdens ending with the Ten of Wands, and then a new cycle beginning with the Ace of Wands. So I don't think that there will be a continuation of burdens, even though this card is in the upright. You could be dealing with a lot of things in May that could make you feel like fortune has turned against your favor. But I think overall, because we have that Ace of Wands there, it's that there's a lot of housekeeping that you need to do. And it could be coming out of this situation where you were being manipulated. Alright, now let's move on to the month of June. The month of June. We have the Ace of Pentacles in the reverse. So we've had this new beginning with the Ace of Wands. Now we're waiting for the payoff to come in, this new financial beginning. We have the King of Wands. The King of Wands leads through charisma and persuasion. So this King of Wands person could very well be this Queen of Wands as well. Gender doesn't mean as much in the tarot as like the correspondences behind it. So King of Wands would be air of fire energy, actually. So the King of Wands could even represent you in a situation, Aquarius, especially if you have prominent fire energies in your chart. But that you are working to manifest these new opportunities through your powers of persuasion and charisma. We also had this Page of Wands back here, so it's even possible that the Page of Wands is speaking about a particular possible romantic relationship that you tried to start with this Queen of Wands, but that it doesn't really end up going anywhere romantically, but it ends up paying off in other ways. So it would be a reminder to, forge strong friendships and relationships with people in your life who are of value. We also have the Eight of Pentacles coming out here reversed. Now the Eight of Pentacles is a card about long-term career prospects. So we see a lot of career potential energies in the month of June, such that I think that what you're trying to manifest right now in the month of June in 2022 is a new career situation. It's going to be like long-term and stable. Now, that's not to say that whatever this offer here is a bad offer, but it could have been a contract. It could have been something that just wasn't very long-term, or it could be that you haven't decided if that's what you want to do long-term yet or not. Or there might have been events in the month of May that have led you to reevaluate things, like maybe you had to put this on the back burner in order to deal with other things. Or perhaps there were burdens attached to it. But we'll just have to pull some more cards. It also, because this is a general reading, obviously it's going to be different for everyone. So any number of those scenarios could end up playing out for any number of you guys. Here in the month of July, we have the Four of Pentacles, so conserving resources. We have the Moon in reverse, things being unclear and kind of going through like a dark night of the soul, not really knowing a direction forward in the month of July. We have the Hierophant in the reverse also. So, in this case, I read this as the Hierophant being guidance from the higher power, or from a spiritual leader, that maybe either you feel like you don't have anyone to turn to on that front, or you are disregarding the messages that are being sent through to you. To me, these two major arcana cards together here reversed speak to there's a disconnect occurring between you and your higher power, your source that is trying to provide you with messages. So I would encourage you in the month of July to avoid getting caught up in situations, especially those surrounding like substance use, and in favor of that, enter quiet meditation in order to parse out more clearly what you are being told, because I feel like the messages are being sent, but they are not being received. And it could be, especially with this Four of Pentacles here, that there is something that you're holding on to that's closing you off from that. Alright, let's look at the month of August. August is half past your birthday. For some of you. The first card we have coming out is the Judgment card in the reverse. Now, this could be about a test that you're going to need to take in the month of August, or a test that you are put through, a trial, and it being in the reverse. Maybe you don't know yet if you're going to pass or fail this trial. The Judgment card is a card of initiation. Initiation. We have the Ten of Swords in the reverse too. Now, the Ten of Swords is about endings, but when it shows up in the reverse like this, to me that says that there's something you need to put to an end. But for whatever reason, you are unwilling. Let's see if we can find out why. The Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is, when it's upright, it's a card of rest and rejuvenation and healing. But because it's in the reverse here, we've got that Ten of Swords and we've got the Four of Swords, which are very strongly air energy cards. These are cards of your energy, but they're both very heavy when they're reversed like this. And would speak to the Ten of Wands here, where we're talking about burdens in many ways. The Judgment card is aligned with Pluto, and by proxy also has elements of Scorpio attached to it. So, and I use to clarify about what I said earlier about the Fool card, I go by the Golden Dawn correspondences when I read. They're available online. I've done a whole video about it. You can check back in the playlists for that. And I use those correspondences because they were worked out painstakingly over time by the members of that society. And I feel like it really brings a lot to the cards. But I want to point, and they're based on Kabbalah. But the tarot and Kabbalah developed independently from each other, and it was later in history that they were linked together. So whatever correspondences you feel comfortable using, I encourage you to do that if it's giving you the results that are going to be effective for you. Alright, so now we're heading into the back half of 2022, the final third. Let's look at what is going on for you in September of 2022. This has been a pretty balanced reading so far as like uprights, inverse, things going on. Nothing really horrible. But I mean, like, you don't really predict things like that necessarily with the tarot. And a situation is only horrible by merit of how you react to it and how it affects your life based on how you've set everything up around you. So we have the Page of Swords reversed. This can be like slander. It's not as much like a card of gossip as it is about a card of like spreading of misinformation. It can also be about somebody spying on you. So look out for that in September. Look look out for misinformation and having misinformation spread. We have the star coming out in the reverse. So this is good. This is you showing up in your reading. But I think that you feel like you're falling short of your higher potential. Now, this could be related to this Page of Swords energy. But look, I want you to look at these cards in context, okay? The Star card is somebody who is major arcana. This is like big famous energy, as you can see on the card. The woman on this card looks a lot like Ray of Light, era Madonna. So like very powerful presence, very much on top of the game. And having this Page of Swords come out kind of says to me that there are like a lot of littler people who are nibbling away at your self-image during the month of September, and possibly information that is coming back to you is not necessarily representative of the truth of the situation, so I would look out for that. Because the other card we have coming out for the month of September is the World, and the World is upright. This is a card of completion. This is a card of success. It's literally having the whole world in your hands, at your disposal. So don't be caught up in other people's mind games again. Because back in March, there was a situation with being caught up in other people's mind games too. Alright, let's look at October, and all my October cards kind of flew out together, so let's see. Oh, I was wondering if the Emperor was going to come out. So the Emperor is the Aries card, and the Emperor is coming out here. Dominion, control. This can be instituting control over your own surroundings. The Emperor can also be a boss. We have the Knight of Wands reversed. The Knight of Wands is like fire energy. So when it comes out in the reverse like this, it can be about burning the candle at both ends and then holding a lit flame under the middle. I would look out for your energy levels during the month of October. Don't overextend yourself. You're gonna feel like you're up to it. But I feel like your victory is gonna hinge on this, alright? Because you've got this card of the Emperor, which is very good for having control over your life. But the Knight of Wands reversed is a very out of control energy. If you're gonna be able to rein that in, however, you have the potential to tap into this Six of Wands and really get a victory with something. So to me, that's more of a caution than like, oh, this is bad because it's reversed. It's more like, no, just keep an eye on that. Let's look now at November, the month of November. We've got, see, now here we have your energy of the Knight of Swords coming out. The Knight of Swords is somebody who is a champion for righteous causes. Champion for righteous causes. But then, of course, clouded by their fire energy. That may be what they consider a righteous cause has other layers. It's a card that's very black and white in its perceptions of the world. We have the Three of Wands reversed. You're waiting for all of the energies that you put out over the previous year to pay off. Typically, I call this the threefold card, that all those energies will be returned to you threefold. This card being in the reverse, I think that you're going to have to wait a bit longer for this final payout. We also have the Seven of Cups in reverse. So I think that with this energy returning to you is going to be a lot of different opportunities. Some of them are going to be very good, and some of them are going to be very bad, potentially. So the Seven of Cups requires you to use proper discernment in order to get what it is that you actually want. The Seven of Cups, you narrow it down to the Four of Cups. You think about it for a while, and then you get your Two of Swords moment. Alright, we're looking at December now, and the month of December, sometimes the cards here are reversed because these things are going to be coming in 2023, so I think that's the case for some of the things here that we're seeing for November. We have the Ten of Cups reverse, so it's possible that you're able to turn this Seven of Cups into an emotional fulfillment and completion. We have the Empress card, and this is coming in upright. So the Empress card is a feminine manifestation. It is a card of fertility, and it is a card of feminine success. And also speaks to the more passive side. So Empress card can also speak to like passive income and projects that you put out into the world, and then the return comes to you after a period of gestation. And we also see here the Page of Cups. So we have this Ten of Cups, and then we also have the Page of Cups. So that speaks to me of a wonderful opportunity coming in for you in early 2023. And it is going to be based on something that you've put out there with that Empress card. Okay, Aquarius. Let's start looking into the crystal for some clarifications here. What about January of 2022? What flavor is that gum? The gum you like is gonna come back into style. No, I'm just kidding. But to clarify, I think that's a Twin Peaks reference. Some of the characters in Twin Peaks were done in by their overt naivete. Others were done in by being overly jaded. There's an encouragement here for you to seek a healthy balance. Neither to be too jaded nor to be too naive. That you watch your back, but you don't guard it. It's a very fine balance to try to strike. What about February of 2023? So, some of you are going to be experiencing your solar return in February of 2023. 22. Sorry, I'm getting a year ahead of myself. February of 2022. That must be why it was so hazy. Self-respect and dignity are your best friends. And when you have nothing else, sometimes that's all you have. I recommend in the month of February, putting yourself first in situations. And I've been encouraging people to do that in these readings. But I think that in this particular case, Aquarius, there's someone in particular who's really trying to get under your skin. And you might think that their motivations are one thing, but their motivations might be entirely something else. Aquarius, what about March? March of 2022. What do you have to look forward to in March of 2022? Serve them with papers. Whoever this is, if you have the wherewithal to pursue legal discourse, serve them with papers. It doesn't mean that you need to take it to court, but you do need to send a message that you've been paying attention to what they have been doing, and that not only are you not going to stand up for it any longer, but their success should not be derived from stealing it from other people. In the month of April 2022, your best friend is going to offer you work. Possibly. If this isn't like your best friend, this is going to be somebody who's like a very good friend to you. But they might not have like a sustainable position for you within their organization. Or it could be a situation where it's a good kind of like part-time gig to get you through a rough patch, but it's not going to be the kind of job that can take you where you want to go long term. And so that's why it's kind of a self-limited situation. But I think that this person is offering you this job because they're a very good friend. May of 2022. What do you have to look forward to in May of 2022? All your romantic rivals are going to be falling by the wayside. I mean, you know, realistically speaking, no one can really compare to what you have to offer. But there's going to be, and there is a particular burden to that as well. The burden of success is kind of what I'm hearing. All your rivals are kind of falling by the wayside, and therefore you are burdened with the success that comes with that. It's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of parsing out the good opportunities from the bad, and having to say no to people is part of it too. What's going on in June? June is a watershed moment for you, or June holds a watershed moment for you, in which you realize what it is that you really want to dedicate yourself to as your life's work. And it might be a little bit different from everything else that has come so far, but you're going to be watering the right flowers for the rest of the year. What's going on in July? So there is kind of like an unclear time in July, and it's because you've kind of had this watershed moment, but in moving forward along that path, there's a lot of questions that crop up regarding your fitness. Something about solitude as well. Your ability to thrive in solitude. The resource you might be conserving in the month of July is your time and energy. Especially because here in August, we have this Four of Swords showing up reversed. So we've got the Four of Pentacles in July and the Four of Swords reversed in August. There's kind of like a floodgates opening moment in between July and August here, in which, and now I'm going to transition to August, in which the people who have been trying to get in touch with you about like different opportunities. So I know that the Seven of Cups isn't coming out here until later in the year, but really like throughout the summer months, and into the later half of 2022, there's just going to be a lot of different things flying at you. Some of these are going to be good opportunities. Some of them are going to be people responding to things that you've done and either being like, hey, I really liked that thing that you did, or I think that you're Satan and I think you deserve to be killed violently, and you're gonna have to learn how to brush that off, if that makes sense. And that's why here in September, where we have the World card and we have Ray of Light era Madonna, that was kind of controversial for her at that time. I mean, right, like so many other things Madonna did weren't controversial. What made Ray of Light controversial was her embracing Kabbalah and really going like full steam into the study of Kabbalah. And at the time, it was being treated as kind of like a New Age religion subsect in and of itself. So it was much more closely allied to like New Age type practices, and not divorced from Jewish mysticism, but much more like a pop cult, rather than the way we think of Kabbalah in relation to the Golden Dawn, or the way we think of Kabbalah as the Sefer Yetzirah lays it out. So, because the Kabbalah is filled with multitudes, it can be many different things to many different people. Not to go off on too much of a tangent, but this was like a way that people had seen Madonna, that they hadn't seen her before, as somebody who was also spiritual. Because up until that point, she had been very overtly sexualizing herself. And, you see like the music video for Like a Prayer, where she's kind of turning a lot of this Catholic iconography on its head, and dealing, with any baggage that she had from growing up Catholic. This was kind of a departure from that. It wasn't a reactionary movement on her part. It was more of like coming full circle into a fully realized spiritual awakening. So that could be something that happens for you here in the month of September, Aquarius. And not everybody's going to understand that. And that's why we have the Page of Swords coming out reversed here. Misunderstanding, espionage, things like that. What about October for Aquarius? October for 2022 for Aquarius. I kind of don't like that this Six of Wands came out reversed, especially because we have this powerful card of the Emperor here. I think that there are a lot of ways in which you are going to be able to capitalize on the energies of the Emperor coming out here in October, but like this Four of Swords here in the reverse, and then we've got the Knight of Wands here reversed. There's just this not taking the time for yourself and guarding your own energies closely enough to fully capitalize on that. And I think that's why this Six of Wands is coming out reversed here, Aquarius, that you will not be able to fully tap into that victory moment from the Six of Wands, because you are not able to effectively guard your energies. And this is a recurrent theme for you in the year of 2022, starting out way back here in January, where we have the Nine of Wands reversed. The Nine of Wands reversed. And I really just want to take a moment to mention the iconography used on this card, that this person is kind of doing a partial handstand, right? Or a partial headstand. And they have their legs in the air and they're striving to keep their skirt pulled onto their legs enough to cover up their underwear. So it's like a way of guarding oneself, kind of like that, keeping your underwear under wraps. Let's look at November of 2022. What do we have to see in November of 2022? There's a fair amount of extra energies around you. We do have that Knight of Swords coming out, but it's kind of like scattering your energies, such that the Three of Wands and the Seven of Cups, which should be opportunities for you coming out, are showing up reversed. And I do think there's something to this, in that you could feasibly have these cards right themselves as we move into 2023. But again, there's like this, I'm getting almost like a need to justify yourself to other people, overly so. That if you spend too much time in flame wars online, or trying to convince other people of your righteousness, or that your way of doing things is right, it's going to hold you back from being able to accomplish the things that you need to do. Whatever this is back in August that you need to be putting an end to. I don't know if this is your involvement with social media, your involvement with a certain group of people, a group of friends, a certain friendship, whatever that represents. It's taking your energy from you, and you need to put an end to it. And the recommendation is that you be putting an end to it in August. We do have some good cards coming out for you in December. What is coming out in December of 2022 for Aquarius? Shiftless new beginnings. Why does it mean shiftless? What do you mean? Shiftless in that there's like a lot of strength behind the energy once you move into 2023, but there's going to be some wrapping up of loose ends here in December. We have that Empress energy, so this is like the conception of these things to come, the Ten of Cups and the Page of Cups, which will be there for you next year. But when you are working with these energies in the month of December of 2022, it's going to feel very much like you are building a castle out of sand, and that it is in danger of being washed away by the tide. So watch also your water sign energies at this time, because like that Knight of Cups in the reverse is very much like feeling like anything you do has the potential to be wiped out. And I do think that there have been a few transitional situations for you throughout 2022 that will kind of, while you have had success with them, you might feel like a lot of these situations kind of tap out before they're fully like realized on your behalf. And I want you to eliminate that way of thinking about them. The way that I want you to think about those things instead is that you are practicing for your eventual and inevitable fully realized success. That all of these things are helping you to practice and move closer to that reward, because every time you do one of these actions, you don't start at ground zero after it ends. No, it has moved you that much further along. And so it's important to maintain an understanding of best benefit. Alright, Aquarius, so now it is time to lay out the the Celtic Cross, and then I will put the 12 houses spread on top of that. And I am using Serpent Fire decks for this part of the reading, so both of these decks can be found on the Serpent Fire website. If you have not yet set your intention for the year ahead, do go ahead and do that. Really put a lot of thought and energy into what it is that you're hoping to achieve for 2022. This part of the reading is going to deal a lot more with your deeper motivations, where your head is at, and is going to have less to do with individual circumstances and more to do with how your energies are going to be evolving throughout 2022. So I find that this part of the reading tends to be a lot less kind of about warnings and more about opportunities. I feel like both are important in a good tarot reading. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, everything's great, and then you get home and like, everything's just normal, you know? Like, that's not exactly helpful. Because change is inevitable, and you want to know what it's going to take for you to evolve and come into your good and righteous energies throughout the course of your life, which requires checking in. Alright, so Knight of Wands coming out again, crossed by the Devil. That's an interesting beginning for your overview reading, Aquarius. We got the Wheel coming out again too. A few of the cards coming out are repeated from your month-by-month reading. Let's look at them all in context with each other. Alright, so as I mentioned, starting out the reading, we've got the Knight of Wands crossed by the Devil. That running yourself ragged has turned into kind of a false martyrdom for you. That you're sacrificing yourself to something that does not deserve your energies. And that it is going to end up trapping you and holding you down. Here in the past, we have this 8 of Pentacles. So this is the energy of a long-term job situation. And it could be that you've come out of a long-term career, or that's something that you had decided was a long-term career for you. You might be leaving that behind, or that might be evolving into something else. This is in the upright, so it could be a continuation, but an 8 of Pentacles is a very complete kind of an energy, in that you have achieved or reached a certain goal in your professional life. So you're coming off of this and moving into this energy, almost that by remaining in motion, that you will be able to carry this momentum but that's a trap. That is a trap. In the Imam Silai, we have the High Priestess. So, you could have very specialized training. You could be very smart. You could be holding on to a lot of secrets. High Priestess is a feminine power outside of the need for masculine support. She is powerful in her own right, whereas the Empress is powerful, but in a passive way, which requires fertilization from outside sometimes. Although the Empress can also be capable of parthenogenesis, and if you don't know what that means, look it up. But this High Priestess is not as much of a generative energy as it is an energy of being able to see the future, being able to see what comes ahead. So the High Priestess energy is very similar to a Two of Wands energy in the Minor Arcana in some ways. From your perspective, we have the Queen of Swords. Now, this could be you coming out in the reading and you see the Queen of Swords is up right here. The Queen of Swords will advocate for her own truth, no matter what the consequences. So that is going to be something for you to carry throughout 2022. Advocate for your own truth, no matter what the consequences are. From an outside perspective, we have the Queen of Wands energy coming out. Now, the Queen of Wands can be somebody who is catty, a gossip, somebody who uses their powers of charisma for manipulation. Anytime we have the court cards, the King and Queen reversed, there is a potential there for manipulation. And we do see that again with this King of Cups in the reverse, in the future position. But we'll talk about that momentarily. The Queen of Wands in the reverse here. This could be how you are seen by other people. But this could also be energies against which you are contending in 2022. That the people you encounter throughout 2022 seem very charming and even disarming at first, but have these ulterior motives. And while the Queen of Wands is not as overtly manipulative as the Queen of Swords, for example, the Queen of Wands is very catty and prone to gossip and misinformation. So those being things that you are going to need to watch out for as you are moving through the year of 2022. Here in the future position, we do have the King of Cups in the reverse. Now, this could be meeting somebody who is possibly a water sign, somebody who's a very paternal figure, somebody who could be a great benefactor to you. Because it's in the future, it would come out reversed if you are not already aware of this person or of the circumstances surrounding your meeting this person, right? But the King of Cups can also be, as I mentioned, somebody who is emotionally manipulative. Here in the hopes and fears, and this is a general reading, so it could be different for everyone, and we will be drawing more cards to find out more about these situations. The hopes and fears, you have this Hierophant reversed. And remember when this came out in the month by month, I was cautioning you against cutting off contact with your higher power. And I think that is kind of what you are afraid is going to happen, is that you're going to be cut off from your relationship with Source. The Hierophant in the Major Arcana is the tarot card of Taurus, which has to do with a a need for stability in one's life also. Taurus is a fellow fixed sign, and whereas air energy is active and moist, it's considered active, moist, warm. Earth energies are cold, they're dry, and they are considered passive energies. So, kind of like the opposite of air energy. So while Leo is your oppositional sign, I would say that you are more at odds with Taurus than you would be with Leo. Here in the midheaven position, we have the Wheel of Fortune coming out again. And remember, this is all about the potential for the energies that you put out into the world for those situations to circle back around again. Circling back around. Circling ad infinitum. And in the final outcome, we have the Two of Wands. Now, this is coming out reversed, but I think that by the end of 2022, you are going to have the foresight spoken of with this Two of Wands, that there is no way to know everything about the future until you get into the future. But we do have, remember, the High Priestess down here in the MMCLI. So that is going to kind of give like that you have the potentials there to be looking forward. Another thing to think about in reference to the Two of Wands is the saying that the map is not the territory. You can read maps all day long, every day, to your heart's content, but until you actually get out there into the great wide world, you're not going to have a full picture of what the map represents. Okay, and now we're going to get into the Celestial Bodies deck. So this first subset of cards, I'm not using the whole Celestial Bodies deck. I'm just using some of the astrological placement cards. But it's an enormous deck, and there's like a lot of tools included in it. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife type deck. So if that's something that interests you, I recommend looking into it. Alright, so Aquarius, you're showing up in the third house, which is a fellow air sign house. Has to do with communication, immediate surroundings. It's part of the Imam Silai triad. Alright, the next set of cards I'm going to work with is the planetary cards. So this includes things like the moon and also Black Moon Lilith and Chiron and some other like South Node and North Node and things like that. Sorry, I keep tapping the microphone. I hope that's not coming through in the recording too much. And the card which has not been used is Mercury. Mercury is again about communication and can be about ideas and the exchange of information. So remember that Page of Swords in the reverse from the month by month. And the final set of cards that I will be using for the reading today is, these are like astrological determinants, like ascendant, descendant, eclipses, and the moon phases. So these I add to kind of just give a more complete picture of the overall energy of a given house throughout the year of 2022. These can also be used for timing. Alright. So let's talk about the first house here. First house, we got the full moon of the sun in Capricorn, which would be a full moon in Cancer and would be probably in December or January, probably in January. So that could be timing. The first house does speak of beginnings. So whatever this long-term employment is that we're looking at with the Eight of Pentacles here, if you are closing out the year with a full-time job, sun in Capricorn, by that full moon in Cancer, there might be a determination that you're making regarding this long-term employment, because Capricorn would have to do with career. The second house is your finances and your stability, and we have the Queen of Swords there. Now the Queen of Swords is a card having to do with, as I mentioned, professing your truth, regardless of who is hurt. So, that being kind of like coming from a place of a need for stability. Coming from a place where you are championing your own stability. This is happening in the environment of waxing crescent energy, where we have the moon in the sign of Scorpio. So this being a cycle that has just begun, that we've come out of the new moon, and that we are moving into an energy of this moon in Scorpio, where things could be hidden. This is Scorpio in its detriment, because Scorpio is native to the 8th house of transformation. It has to do with other people's resources. So this might be entering a time for you where you are speaking to others about their resources and how your finances and stability are reliant upon things that they are doing. The 3rd and 4th houses here are within the scope of the Imam Silai, and this is where we have the High Priestess. So the secrets that you hold today are going to determine the outcome of the Wheel of Fortune in the future, in your destiny. The 3rd house, we have this last quarter moon. So you're coming now into the 4th and final part of a cycle. And here we have your sign Aquarius, but we have Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius. And Black Moon Lilith speaks to all of the things in this lifetime which vilify you. which have the potential to vilify you. And so Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius is where we're talking about your relationships with other people and being othered, being treated like an outsider from time to time. And this could be happening like among your siblings. It could be happening in your communication with others. The High Priestess is also a very secluded energy, somewhat like the Hermit. But unlike the Hermit, there is a sovereignty there. I think that the Hermit is separate from others, but not necessarily by choice, but by default and necessity. But this would go along with this energy of feeling like other. And now you are coming to the end of that cycle, and you are almost ready to emerge with all of the secrets that you have uncovered. The fourth house has to do with home and family life. And this is waxing gibbous moon energy, so almost the full moon, almost to the fullest part of the cycle. We have slow-moving planet, slow and solid Saturn in the young and impatient sign of Aries. So, there could be situations that are just beginning, that take a very long time to develop, and there could be impatience associated with this. And that would be related to your home and family life. So it could be that you're still looking for the place where you want to live long term. And that might be affecting your job prospects. Here in the fifth house, this has to do with creativity, your romance, your passions, anything to do with children. The fifth house has to do with matters of the heart. And this is where we have that Queen of Wands. So these matters of the heart could be turned against you as a way of controlling you also. And this would be, if you're an Aquarius rising, this would be your descendant house. So looking at the house of other also in this perspective, because Leo, the ruler of the fifth house, is your opposite sign. We have here Venus in Gemini. So the planet Venus in the sign of Gemini, this can be communication about romance with other people. One-on-one communication about romance with other people. It can also be about like somebody who is close to you, like a sibling but is not a sibling. Could be kind of entering the arena as a potential romantic interest in 2022. Venus in Gemini, you could be communicating about your passions too, and seeking out business partners in a passionate endeavor of a professional nature. The sixth house has to do with your daily routines and your health, and remember that's where we have here this King of Cups in the reverse. We're not quite sure what the motivations are with this King of Cups. So now we're looking at energies of the ascendant. So this is a first house energy, and remember we had very professional energies over here in the first house. House of the self also is the first house, the ascendant house. And as this relates to your health, there's going to be a personal focus on your own health, on your own daily routines. And we have Mars in Pisces energy, which can be kind of like a hurry up and wait type energy. Mars is very fiery, very passionate, very directed, while the energy of Pisces is very open, very mutable, and watery, so that some of that drive gets extinguished and some of that drive is misdirected. So it can be a little bit difficult to deal with that. Mars in Pisces might be a placement of this King of Cups person. You might want to check your Mars placement and see if some of the misdirections in your life are spelled out in your natal chart. Now, I certainly do not want to be an ableist in my readings. So if you have a condition like ADHD, for example, you might want to go into 2022 with an awareness of your condition and doing your best to have coping mechanisms available to you that are going to work. Like, start developing really good coping mechanisms for keeping yourself on track. Because one thing that I saw consistently throughout the month-to-month reading was that a lot of your energies are being diverted away from you in a way that is detrimental to you being able to accomplish your goals. And I understand that, like, there's only so much you can do when you have neurodivergent tendencies. Because obviously, if you could just snap your fingers and make them go away, then they wouldn't be a problem to anyone ever, right? But I really urge you to find ways to integrate into your daily routines, ways to keep yourself on track, just little checkpoints throughout the day that kind of keep you focused and keep you on track without falling into the compulsion to do those things. But I'm not a mental health professional, so I'm going to have to trust you to find the help for that will be best suited to your needs. Let's look at the 7th house now. We're coming into the first quarter, so you've already been through phase 1 of this new cycle. And the 7th house is the house of other. It has to do with your partnerships. It has to do with court cases. It can be open enemies also. We have Chiron in Cancer. So understanding the reciprocation of emotions between yourself and other people is going to be something that you will be healing in yourself throughout 2022 and beyond. But there's going to be a big focus on that in 2022 in your relationships with others, and that might be where this King of Cups is coming out reversed. That you want to be this benefactor, this positive and emotionally reinforcing presence in other people's lives, but maybe there's some growth concerning that you have to do still. Now we are looking at the 8th house of transformation, and this is where we had the Hierophant coming out in your hopes and fears. In the reverse, so the midheaven. So this has to do with your destiny. It's going to have to do with how the Wheel of Fortune turns for you and where it takes you. We have the energy of Pluto in Sagittarius too. So Sagittarius is also tied to the 9th house. So there's going to be a transformation here in the midheaven energies, probably related to Sagittarius, which is a mutable fire sign. and we did have a lot of fire energies coming out. It's going to have to do with regulation and the cyclical nature of how you regulate your energy cycles. So we'll move on to the midheaven, and specifically the 9th house, because that might tell us more about the 8th house, because there is a lot of transition going on here in the midheaven position. We're coming to the very end of a certain cycle, so the waning crescent right before the new moon. And here we have Uranus in Virgo, and that's like creating new strategies for yourself, relating to your daily routines and your health, relating to detail, attention to detail. So Uranus is about brand new things, and Virgo is about attention to detail, and can be about the health also. Uranus is also very tied to your sign of Aquarius and can be about group dynamics. So it could be that you have been reinforcing your routines through your relationship to certain groups, and that as you move into 2022, that cycle is ending for you, and you're going to need to develop your own strategies to keep yourself on track. The 9th house is also all of the things that we do to improve ourselves. So that can be like higher education, long distance travel, spiritual relationships to spiritual organizations, and things like that. So now we're going to look at the 10th house of career, and we do have waning gibbous energy, so the peak of that particular career, it looks like has passed, and now we're just on the other side of that. So that's what we're seeing here with that 8 of Pentacles showing up in the past position. We have Jupiter in Libra, that there was an expansion going on that was based in an equalization. So now that equalization has been reached, and you've gone into kind of a period of inertia, and you're trying to push through that with this Knight of Wands crossed by the Devil, but that's a trap. I think whatever this is, you've kind of reached your peak in that field, and it's time for you to explore other possibilities in order to really capitalize on what you want to do moving forward. Unless you are content with coasting for a while, but the temptation to, if I work harder, if I work more and more and harder, that I'll push through this, is a fallacy. So don't fall into that. Let's look at the final outcome, which is in your native house of the 11th house. It has to do with group dynamics. So 2 of Wands in the reverse. You could be checking out different groups that you could become a part of. Like, I specifically saw like Meetup and Eventbrite and stuff like that. 11th house can also be social media, but like finding new ways of connecting with people where you can kind of like feel out the energies before you show up there. We have the void of course moon. So the void of course moon is after the moon makes its last forms its last transit with whatever that planet is, and then before it moves into the next sign. So it's a period of kind of planning, watching, and waiting, which goes along with this 2 of Wands very well. we have the watery, spirit-connected planet of Neptune in the fiery, passionate sign of Leo. So, again, like Mars in Pisces energy, Neptune, which is native to Pisces, being a very, flexible sign, very directed by the relationship to Source and connecting to Source, which was a concern with this Hierophant card here. And then the sign of Leo being all about one's passions and the disparity possibly being there between what you're passionate about and what you're being directed to do by your higher power and your higher self. And so being in this kind of holding pattern in the interim period while you're waiting for the next thing to unfold. And finally, we're circling back around to the 12th house. We have the lunar eclipse here, which can be like dark night of the soul energy. This is being recorded the week before the lunar eclipse in Taurus. And we do actually have Taurus coming out here with South Node, North Node energy. So, Taurus as the North Node is your destiny being for financial stability and comfort. And then Taurus in the South Node puts Scorpio in the North Node position, which is this kind of resonance between the finances of others and being able to tap into other people's resources and our own stability and success. Remember too that we had the moon in Scorpio down here in the second house, which would have put it in an oppositional energy to its native house. So there's a lot going on here with that dynamic between your resources and the resources of other people. I'm not seeing anything related specifically to an inheritance, but it does seem like throughout the year of 2022, you are kind of coming to grips with getting people to compensate you fairly for work that you have done for them. And that is going to be something that you will want to assess and properly address throughout 2022. Alright, so now we're going to go into the bibliomancy portion of this reading. And if you're still around, drop a cow in the comments for the prophet Gary Larson. We will be using his high and holy text, The Prehistory of the Far Side, for our bibliomancy today. Yes. So we have this group of vultures huddled around what we can assume is a deceased person, and one of them has taken the hat of the deceased person, placed it on his own head, and he's saying, "Hey, look at me, everybody, I'm a cowboy. Howdy, howdy, howdy." I struggled for hours with what I thought was the humor's focal point in this cartoon. I couldn't decide if putting the coat on the vulture was gratuitous or not, worrying that only the hat was necessary. Making a decision between hat and coat versus just hat had me climbing the walls. When all was said and done, I don't think that had anything to do with where the humor was really coming from. In this case, I think it's the tag at the end of the caption, "Howdy, howdy, howdy," that makes it funny. And then he puts in parentheticals, "I should have left off the coat." I didn't even notice the code when I was describing this panel to you. There are a few ways this could be interpreted for bibliomancy. For one, as I had just been talking about at the end of the 12 houses spread, it seems like there is a need for balance between how you are compensated by other people and the work that you put in. So that could be seen as vultures picking a corpse clean, right? Also, losing focus. Losing the forest for the trees, in that what was really the humor behind this panel? It wasn't the hat and it wasn't the coat. It was the implication that all of these vultures have found a cowboy out here in the desert. How did he come into that situation? How did they happen upon him? I mean, vultures can smell death from miles and miles. But what situation, what crossing of the stars led that person to be where he was? For those vultures to find him in that condition, it could have been the nature of his occupation, and that alone. But what's really funny is that this vulture in particular has latched onto the idea that cowboys say howdy. It's funny even just saying it. Others might be emulating you with greater success than you see. That when you say it, it's not funny. But when someone else is mocking you, that's what makes it really funny. And you should be getting credit for that also. Aquarius, thank you for joining me for the 2022 year ahead forecasts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment down below and subscribe to my channel if you feel like it. And remember that I did all 12 signs, so if you know your friend's sign and you think that they would enjoy these readings, feel free to share it with them. Thank you for all your support. I hope you have a fantastic year ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again very